what I've done is I've went ahead and I have finished the bottom, and I've applied the leading edge just to show how this is done. It goes all the way. I've got about 2-inch overhang, and this is the other piece. This is just a 6-inch strip that's measured down one length and then cut in half. I basically center the piece and put it down here on this side. What you didn't see is when I covered the bottom, there's a 6-inch wide strip that was an additional piece just like the top, and then I applied another piece here on the nose, and that's just to, this is going to get a lot of wear from landings, whether it's covering material, crashes, whatever. It's just to help reinforce the nose. It's real easy to apply, and this was still wet when I applied it, so this stayed down in place. I went over, sprayed my adhesive, let it tack up for a little bit, and just started tacking it down like I did the rest of it. When I got to the nose, I cut in and then trimmed this side flush. This will go over on top, as you'll see here in a second. But what I typically do is both sides before I go ahead and flip it over. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead apply it to the leading edge here. Now it's probably going to take a few minutes for that to start tacking up, so I'm going to go ahead and just get this on here, positioned anyways, and just carefully press it down, because it does take a minute for this stuff to start setting up, and if you use too much pressure it can remove it or cause you have to reposition again. Now at the tip you can't see it, but because of how it overhangs, I have to trim it. I'll see if I can slide this over so you can see the tip here. I have to trim this up to the leading edge wingtip here, and it's just so this will want to lay down. And for this I'm just going to low pressure pull on it and use a blade and let the blade do the work for you, and then that'll let it rest there without pulling up. Now I'm going to go ahead and reapply my glue here and make sure I got good coverage. And you can kind of tell when it's saturated because it does fill in the holes on this real well. And the same thing with this. I'm going to go ahead and trim here right along the leading edge. And then I'm going to cut away from it just so I know I have the material there to go across the top. Like I said, the temperatures I'm working in are going to be different than most people, so this is already setting up. But here's the method I was talking about. Because this has got wet adhesive on here, and you can see I'm doing this rather quickly, I'm just putting baby powder on there. I'm just going to lightly brush it around. And that's all the protection I need to flip this over on this wing bed. And I'm just going to make sure there's nothing, no loose stuff there. I'm going to flip it over and I can work on this side, and I do not have to worry about it sticking to the wing beds underneath. But on top it's a little different. You do have to give this some time to set up, so I'm going to go ahead and get both sides going here. Like I said, if you feel safer just doing a little bit at a time, that's perfectly fine. Now, I'm using the first piece I put on. You can see it, it's above this one. And I'm going to start at the bottom and just go like that. And that's just to make sure it's flush up against that leading edge. And I work from the center out. Just go across there. And it's staying in place like it should. And I will put more adhesive down. It's just right now I'm just trying to get this down here. Same thing on this side. I'm going to start towards the bottom. Doesn't matter which direction you work in, from as long as you start in the center. It kind of helps in case it starts pulling it. As you can see, this stuff is already tacking up real good. It might be a good idea to do one side at a time if you've not done this process yet. I'm just going to go ahead and relieve it here on the wing tips again. Right there by the wing tip, where it wants to keep pulling back. And went ahead and trimmed it off on both wing tips just to get it taken care of. I'm going to go ahead and apply my last coat of adhesive here. Just make sure I got good coverage on this side too. Just like I did the bottom, if you decide that you want to add some more strength here, you can double up across all the way to the nose. It's not going to hurt anything. The only areas you have to watch is the nose. Let's see, we're good there. That's still loose, not sticking to anything. And I'll probably go ahead and treat this other side here. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with a little of this powder down both sides. And this does not affect the adhesive one bit. I'm not applying pressure, I'm just brushing the powder around here. Typically what I end up doing is going straight from this to spackling. I typically don't wait. Doesn't affect it one bit, doesn't slow down the drying time, and usually speeds up the whole process. But one of the things you'll need to do is free your compartments. This you usually have to be careful with, and I tried to find my edges. Now when I built this, I left a gap so it was easy for me to find the battery pocket first. So I got that free, and then you can find your edges here for these. I've already got those open, and since I just got my servos in today, I'll be able to finalize my servos in this build. Go ahead and remove this. But other than that, that is the glassing technique. There is no real difficult process there. It's pretty straightforward. It's just making sure you work from the root to each tip out, and then adding that cap to the leading edge, and that's it. This will be sufficient for 150 mile-an-hour speeds. Now if you plan on putting your wings in high-speed dives and stuff like that, it doesn't hurt to add additional covering material, but with it having two spars, if you glued them in the way that I showed you, and the leading edges, it should not have any issues at 150 miles an hour, even putting it in huge dives. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this stuff out of my workspace here because it's I just recently switched to the high-tech 2.4 system. I was using Spectrum. After doing some research and looking into the reviews and stuff like that, it's a very rock-solid system. Now I went through Tom's RC and was able to pick up a lot of stuff here at a very reasonable price. Now I bought the system, the module system for my Eclipse 7 with the two 7-channel receivers, and I picked up 3 additional 6-channel receivers. Now these do have that supplemental power input in it, and that's one of the reasons I always try to allow myself enough room here. If I have to, when I designed the battery layout here, I have roughly an inch. I can inset my BEC in here and still have plenty of room for my batteries without any problems. But if I need to, I can fit a 2-cell receiver battery in here. It won't be an issue at all. but that's definitely something you want to look at. Now, I haven't had a chance to use these yet. I'm still working on the orientation of the antenna, which they say isn't an issue, but I got to do some looking into that. Um, However, there is plenty of room in here. And just the same, if I want to keep all my batteries away from the receiver, which is the main purpose of this layout. You have your batteries here, your receivers over here, your ESCs over here. This isolates the power from your receiver, and I have not had one issue with interference due to high power. Not in 72 megahertz and not in 2.4. Other people like to use opto isolators and stuff like that, but that's because they put their speed control and receiver right behind the battery bay. I don't do that, and I have yet to have to add additional equipment to avoid those issues. Now, like I said, when I designed this battery bay, I designed it several different battery platforms, and Turnigy has 4-cell 3000s, 4000s that will fit in this battery compartment. They're an inch thick and will easily fit in here. So you, instead of having two 2-cells in here, you'll have that weight right up in front. So it makes balancing this a lot easier. Plus, if I bought two of them, I could have 6,000, 8,000 milliamps in here and fly for 15-20 minutes, if not longer, depending on my amp draw.